Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Creatives Chat, episode 35,
After Show Convo.
featuring Jesse Marshall. Join us as we chat about who knows what. Our show shall begin now. Streaming from Retro Earth Studio and brought to you by
wearehistorically.com, Conscious Human Apparel, and
Learn to play jazz piano like a pro, by a pro, with Jazz Piano Pro Essentials at jazzpianopro.com.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Creatives Chat. Hello, I'm Rusty.
I'm Peter.
And Peter, tell our viewers who we have lined up on our show today.
Oh, Rusty, I'm super excited to have on this entrepreneur, this creative spirit. He's a real one. I'm excited to introduce the Creative Chats audience to Jesse Marshall. Again, you may know him from our Raise the Cake fundraiser and My Sweet Lil Cakes. So let's chat with Jesse. How do you encourage someone to really take that step to question their programming, that negative voice that tells them they can't do it, that they can't achieve it, that, you know what I mean? Like, how do you combat that? How do you teach that as a father? How do you pass that on as an entrepreneur, ending the programming of modern conditioning?
That's a little big of a slice for me to break off. I can
Loaded question.
work it on myself. I listen to, find your favorites. There's people that I listen to. I like tough guys. I like Goggins, David Goggins. I like Joe Rogan. I like, James Allen and Alan Watts and these philosophers that were on some heavy stuff. And I listen to them. And, the thing about surrounding yourself with, you'll become the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but I think that there is some truth to it. And so, I always try to check in with my mentors. I reach out to them. I make sure that I'm there. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Because these guys, when there's a project that comes down the pipe, I run it by them and they will punch holes in it if it's weak. I have a team of people that when I bring my best, because there's, you got to be willing also to have people not attack your idea, but find its flaws.
Challenge it.
Geez, especially early, they're doing you a huge favor.
Right.
A wise man, this is a self-made millionaire, a brother told me the best deals, he said the most valuable deals I ever, what did he say? I forget how he said it. He's like, basically, it was the best business deals he ever made were the ones he didn't make. Like the most valuable, most profitable deals he ever made were the ones he didn't make. Meaning, like, if somebody can show you a flaw in your plan, listen to them. Really listen to them, because it's like showing you a tiny little hole in your boat before you have to, you want to plug that before you hit the waves. You don't want to go, no, this boat's for sea. Where do they shut up? You want to listen, because once you hit that ocean, once you're out there, there's no turning back. It's either like land or ocean floor. You got to make it across. And that's how it is with small businesses. So I say that, like, find good people that will big up your idea, that will support your idea. But man, just as valuable, more valuable are the people that are like, yeah, this is why I think that maybe that. And if it makes sense, their concern makes sense, and listen to that. You need those people.
Well, right there, this is a hot topic considering, saying something counter culture, saying something that's really your own personal opinion, apparently is something that's very attacked nowadays. So in terms of being challenged in your dreams, your visions, I know, especially, as a small business owner, as, creative who likes to write, I feel like there's always this kind of knee-jerk reaction to want to just, no, protect my baby, protect my creation. And it's like, how can it really grow though, if you're not going to challenge it and really push its flaws? And I think that's the balance that needs to happen for people to understand. It's like, we have to grow. We grow through adversity. It doesn't, in conflict. It doesn't need to mean it's combative though, but like, and that's a rusty one, but it's like, it comes to this point where you need to have people that push your ideas in order to really make them the best ones that they can be, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's important to find those people. We're living in a day and age where somebody will see your shirts untucked and not tell you because they don't want to hurt your feelings. It's like, dude.
Like, yeah, like for me, I got something in my teeth, and they're just like gonna let you have it.
Lucky because we're living in a place where somebody may become offended by you telling them they have a piece of lettuce in their teeth. It's like, I don't necessarily adhere to those social values, and so I think that's it's not always easy. The people that I love, I think I feed it to them straight sometimes, and I don't think that's always easy. I think that times, I don't give like the complicit agreement. I just agree with them for the sake of agreeing with them. I'll only agree if I really actually truly agree, and if I don't, I'll tell them what I think, and there's just more tools for the shed. Do what you want to do. Like do what you're gonna do anyway. It's just like I'm just saying, as a friend, I would be remiss in not telling you I believe you're driving straight for a cliff. Like that kind of thing. Just let them know as a friend. So not always popular, but
the value of tough love, though, there's nothing that beats it. You need it.
Honestly, it's all I know. It's all I know. So I'm thankful for that.
Well, in terms of just passing on the torch to the next generations and really helping them prepare for the future,
like,
how do you do it? Yeah, just nah. I was gonna say, how do you pass the torch on? Like, how do you teach this, and how do you really pass on this? I think the one thing that I'll put it this way is, as you see different generations grow up, you can see that you have some families, firstborn immigration parents, you're a first generation here in America, you've made it success from the streets. How do we pass on that drive and that dedication to generations that kind of grew up in a little bit more of a softer environment where they didn't have to get that trial by fire? Like, can you pass it down as a father? Like,
it's one of those things that it's like with conspiracies or anything. It's like you don't know till 10 years after what the truth is. So sitting here, I've not fulfilled that yet. I haven't proven that because they're not old enough where they could have, gathered all it takes to successfully run these or operate these or take their, to me, they're still kids. To me, they're still kids, but they have dreams. They have enormous dreams. They have enormous drive, and they have limitless potential. So I said, give me 10 years because the jury's still out. I am trying to understand that more each day. That's part that I'm trying to understand each day is how, because it's like the Bedouin theory. It's like every generation, like I grew up dirt poor, like that dirt poor. And so my kids didn't, like not the same, and so, and then their kids, hopefully the idea is progression will happen and their kids will be able to have it, and then by the fourth generation, that little pampered, spoiled brat will never have had to work for a thing. You know what I mean? They'll get to go and, I'm from the Sweet Cakes family and all this, it's like,
I love it. Yes.
So it's like, so it's like, each generation, it's like you have to rewrite how to parent the next generation. Like what works I'm learning what worked on me doesn't work on them. Absolutely not. It absolutely has proven itself. It does not work on them. But that's all I know. So I'm having to it's like building wings of parenting on the way down a bit, trying to figure out how do you instill this passion in them? How do you, And so far I don't have the exact answer except for that it just comes from within them,
I love it. No, that to me, there is no more perfect answer than the straightforward truth. I don't know. Well, because it's you could easily say and go off for an hour on I teach them this and this and this and this and this, but in my experience, 10 years of education and teaching, and it's something to understand that children and kids learn from what you do. They don't really learn as much from what we think they do of telling them things. It's always just how they're observing you. And I think there's nothing more of a role model than someone who has that drive, living it out, that gives them that being like, yeah, I do have a passion. I see this. I see my dad as a drive. I want to make some things happen.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's special stuff, man.
Work in progress for sure.
But nothing's more important than what you're doing right now. And I think it's, it's showing people what really is important in this world. And I think it comes back to that commitment to community, and how you have it, your lifestyle is really just a commitment to your own self and your own growth. and that there doesn't need to be, you know, a distinction between those two, that they can work harmoniously. And that's the real work-life balance, if you want to call it that, right?
Exactly.
Oh man. So in terms of a little bit of words of wisdom for the listeners and the viewers out there, if they could change one thing in their day, what would you say is the most important thing to change?
We touched on it already. Go to bed early.
Go to bed early.
You're not gonna go to sleep. Just lay there like a bump on a log, and you can change your body. Listen, people tell me all the time, I can't wake up early. I can't. My body just doesn't. Da, 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 da. But they can go to Japan. They can fly to Japan and change whole time zones. And with 2 days time, they force themselves into a totally different sleep pattern. And then they just maintain that sleep pattern. It's just that society, we're programmed not to. You can. It's just as easy as hopping in an airplane and traveling to a different time zone. And it takes 2 or 3 days for your body to reset. If you just stay strict on it, if you go to bed at 8, lay there, or 9, and you lay there for 2 hours, fine. You wake up still at whatever time you set that alarm for. That next night, you will be tired an hour earlier. And then following night, you'll be tired an hour earlier, and you'll line it up. And so the problem with that, though, that's the easy part. What's hard is that everyone else is still awake. That's the hard part. It's like everyone else is still engaging. They're still socializing. That's when things are starting. So basically, it's a trick. It's a loaded statement, because if you do that, you're going to then excommunicate yourself from 80% of the people that you probably now socialize with after the hours of like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. You know,
Wow.
And that's the tough part. And then in doing that, suddenly your time is shifted. So you have all these other hours that open up, and they're your golden hours. They're your hours in the morning. And by default, you don't have the ability to reach out to people because most people are asleep. So you find yourself doing things that you never once before were doing. You just didn't have time in the day, and you do now. So it's an adjustment, but it actually is a very beneficial adjustment. Well, for me, it's been a very beneficial adjustment. I can't imagine going and working like 8, 10 hours and then coming home and changing clothes and then being passionate about building my dream. I can't do it like that. I have to do mine first.
Whew, whew. That is some truth, and I really do think that right there is, again, it's another profound statement that's just tossed out there, just like as a subtlety of who you are, of just putting yourself in the position to carry out your passions first. No one's going to have time for it after. I think that's the thing, is right there is so many people set themselves up for this, you know, Herculean task of having to achieve all of these checkbox things. Oh, well, I need to go to the gym. I need to do this. Well, I need to sit down and write. I need to brainstorm for my book and my business, you know.
Yeah.
After they've already spent all of their energy and they've already stretched themselves so thin with the dramas of others, of just working
Just like
for another. Yeah, and just life on top of that.
I think we really want every person to figure this out. So then everyone can start. No, they want worker bees. They need you to do that 9 to 5, and they push the work-life balance. That means go spend all your money in the weekend and go have fun and go on these little mini vacations. Don't ever own a property in Cabo or whatever. I don't travel, but don't ever own a property. Don't ever have these don't ever own this beachfront real estate. But just go visit it and then come back to us. Come back to us. They need you. They train you. They pay money to train you so you'll stay. It costs them money. I mean, I know that as an employer. It costs money every time you train a new employee. So you really like to keep the ones you have, and how better to keep them than keep them in a perpetual cycle that they'll be back at their desk on Monday like this. Like that's how you're gonna come back to me? Fine. I'll take the Monday, the short day, and I'll keep you in this cycle for 20 years, and then you can retire.
I love that. Well, it comes back to that concept of, I'll express it as this, we have this understanding of what we think the zombie apocalypse was supposed to be. And that, we're going to have these physically dead people all around causing chaos and havoc. But in the truest way, I see that we've been living through this zombie apocalypse, very much to what you said in terms of that programming with work. We have so many people who are emotionally and mentally enslaved to like these ridiculous, nonsensical concepts. And they're also just incredibly like spiritually depraved. And that the detachment from who they really are versus what everything and everyone has told them to be is no more evident than just how much suffering we see people with like mental health, with suicides. Like there's so many people that are unhappy, And I really do hope that one of the biggest things that people can take away from this one is really just to give yourself the love and the service, to just live out your dreams, to make something happen,
Exactly.
to love yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you know, at the end of the day, you know, you can travel miles further. You could carry, you know, you could carry the town on your back. You know, if you give yourself that sleep, that rest, that, you know, that time, that space, there you can go so much further. You're so much stronger than you know. You know, you are. I mean, everyone is. I really see that. I think that you know, I've tapped in a few times to just different layers and levels of potential that I didn't know that I had until I was pushed, until I was submerged, and I was fighting for air. You know, I want to keep going. You know, and that's when it really comes out of you. So challenge yourself, test yourself, put yourself in those positions to fail, because that's really the only way that you ever truly recognize what you're capable of. You know, and I don't see a loss. I don't see a closing of a business as a failure. It's not a failure.
Mm,
For one thing, it's much of it is circumstantial. You know,
yeah.
the odds were in favor of that happening, and you know, it's a you know, it's a freshman attempt, or it's a sophomore attempt, or it's a junior attempt, and you're going to have many more attempts. You know what I mean? So I learned so much through the progress, or through the process of doing Sweet Cakes, that, you know, CacheBox, to set it up, at least for the initial setup, it took a lot less time, because now I've done this before. And I think that that's kind of true with everyone, is once you go through the process, there's only so much to it. And I think that there's different business structures that kind of have much of the same process, you know. Once you learn what that is, what that kind of that formula that works, I think you can apply it. And I don't know this for sure, it's not proven, but I think that you can apply it to all kinds of different businesses, you know.
Oh, definitely. And it's right there. And I guess you could say the proof is in the pudding, where, you know, the application to wisdom is infinite. And when you do really understand something, you can apply it to anything you want in your life. And I think that's the reason why, you know, I've always enjoyed hearing you speak and just like talk about your ideas and your projects and your creations, is because you do tie in every aspect of all the knowledge you've gained in your life into your current work. No matter what it is you're doing, you can see that that's evident. And that's what I love about it, because it's like, dude, that's how you create the future. Like, and this is, it goes to what we're saying, you know, we've talked about it a few different times in terms of programming and what you're kind of consuming from society, but it's like, you know, you can either consume culture or you can create culture. And the way I've seen is that you're a person who's always creating culture, and that's so important for nowadays and in the future, especially because of the ideology and kind of the purpose and the heart work that you have and where your soul's into it. And that is uplifting everyone, giving people the opportunity, showing others that it's possible. You know what I mean? Like, it really is a great source of inspiration, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope I hope it is. I hope that's what it feels like to people. Honestly, like, I think about that sometimes. Like, if sometimes, you know, when I'm in the midst of the sacrifice, which is just, you know, you face loneliness, you face feelings of separation, because you're not able to do what you did before. You're able to, but you're choosing not to, and that's sometimes hard. You know, I think that, you know, the payoff is down the road. I just keep telling myself that the payoff is down the road. The payoff is down the road, and I keep just telling. That's the only way to keep going. Like, people are going to respond. They're going to see this and they're going to respond to it, you know. And it's like that. It's actually the idea that really keeps me going a lot of times, is the fact that, like, I feel like, you know, when you work hard to create something, and then you see it being embraced, it's almost like someone embracing one of your own children. You're looking at it like that. You're like, when I used to watch people eat a sweet cake, I'd be like, you know, like, really just like super happy to watch every bite, you know, just enjoy watching them eat it. Like, you know, it's like, you know, you work so hard on something, and then you see somebody actually getting it. You know, like, when I went to go to one of the amenity machines, and I saw somebody, you know, for the first time standing there and like pushing a button, and man, like, my heart felt so warm. I would have given them whatever they wanted for free. I was like so happy to see somebody there, you know, like, you actually came and bought something, you know. So it feels really good. It was a toffee-o, by the way.
Toffee, I love it. That's awesome.
And it's amazing how much work, like, okay, so I'm just going to touch upon this briefly, though. This is the book that actually kind of changed my perspective on time. It's by Deepak Chopra, Boundless Energy. And he talks about the different times, because our body has a cycle and it moves. And so there's certain chemicals that are dispersed during the day that help us get through the day.
Right.
And if we're not in sync with that, then we're actually working against ourselves.
Right.
And so like there's a chemical, our body, serotonin, so it helps us sleep. And if we ignore it, then it and so there's all these functions. And so what I've learned over time, I also want to say I'm also in tune with my body.
Right.
And just because the clock says 12 doesn't mean it's lunch. And there's that program you talk about, like, it's 6 o'clock, time to go home. Oh, right. 8 o'clock, time to have dinner. Oh, now it's, like there's a set routine.
Yeah. But how old were you when you knew that at some point I'm going to be going out at 11 and staying out till 3 a.m. and coming home at 4? You were about 19 years old and you couldn't wait to turn 21. It's like that young, you already know, like, when I get, it's like this big, it's a rite of passage to get to join into the system of throwing off your body's clock every single week.
Right.
I'm joining the club now. We consume liver and kidney destroying elements, and we
I was about to say how hangovers I've worked through.
How much money you spend just on and then you don't really get as healthy as you would because it's just not. It's cool in moderation. Everything's great, but I'm happy. Almost one of the things during this whole COVID period is that I'm not happy for any businesses that are losing, anybody that's not able to open their doors. But I will say that people are doing things a lot earlier now, and I like that. There's really no reason to go out at 11 anymore. So people are actually doing things at 6 in the evening, 7 in the evening. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. You
get it. You finally get it.
Because on our natural clock, we won't do that. We don't.
Exactly.
That's our only option that we've ever heard of. Is to do that. On our own body's natural clock, we would choose to gather at 6 or 7.
Yeah. Like we used to during dinner, breaking bread, sharing meals, sharing those experiences with people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so with that, I do want to add my final thoughts is thank you for supporting our community of entrepreneurs and small business and keeping this ecosystem going. That really is the key, is that we have to support each other, especially small businesses. And that's what I love seeing, is that it's a win-win-win, because not only do you win, not only do the vendors win, but our community wins. And that, I believe, is the carrot that was dangling. It was like, how can everybody win? And you created that scenario. And I'd like to say thank you.
Man, from the bottom of my heart, you're welcome. On behalf of Seattle, food vendors and small businesses, you're welcome.
That concludes this episode of Creatives Chat. Thank you for watching. Join us every Thursday at 3:33 p.m. Pacific Daily Time as creative minds get together and chat about who knows what. View more episodes on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks again to our sponsors for making this show possible. Thank you, LoyaltyGutterServices.com and WeAreHistorically.com. Conscious Human Apparel.
Hi, I'm Darius Wilrich. I'll teach you everything you need to know about playing jazz piano like a pro with my 12-week online video course and downloadable guidebook, Jazz Piano Pro Essentials. Enroll today at jazzpianopro.com.
Thanks for joining us. Have happy always.
Oh yeah.